welcome to my allotment. Today I'm going to be giving you a tour of what I'm doing and how everything's getting on. If you've not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, if you could please do so, because I give you lots of helpful hints and tips all throughout the year from my allotment, my home garden and also my home kitchen. Now first of all, the blackberries are starting to ripen. So they're looking really lovely. Another couple of weeks, hopefully I'll have a nice selection of blackberries. Now these are cultivated blackberries, so these are much better than the ones you get in the hedgerows. The hedgerow ones are fine, but these are much sweeter and much more lovely. And as they form and ripen, you'll get to see what they look like. So they're really lovely. So as we move down, you know, the cabbages and the cow are all doing really well, which you've seen before. The sweet corns are actually really starting to come along now. They're still a little bit slow, but they're getting there. I'm going to give them a water today, and that will really boost them up. So it is really dry at the moment, so I'm going to give everything a water. You water at the beginning of the day or the end of the day when it's really hot. Don't water in the middle because it could affect the plants adversely. Always best to do first thing in the morning or late at night. If you could only do during the day, then obviously you'd have to do that, but try and just do the mornings or the evenings. Now, if you look at the onions, they're obviously filling out really, really well, exactly how they should be. They're looking really good. They're starting to flop over. Now that's a sign that they will be ready to dig. I don't know if you can see over here, we've got a few that are just starting to limp over. So once they've all fallen over, I will lift those onions and I will dry them. So probably another week or two and they'll all be down and I'll be lifting them, but not yet, it's too soon. So hopefully they'll swell out a little bit more. So the beans are starting to swell out, which is really awesome. And my Cape gooseberries are starting to come along. As you can see, it's a little bit weedy here. So that's going to be one of my jobs after I filmed this, to clear those weeds. It's really good to weed on a warm day, or when you know it's going to be a warm day, because it burns the weeds off as well, so they're less likely to grow back. So that's the top tip. So as we move over, the dahlias are looking absolutely beautiful. So really pleased with those. So I'll be taking some of those home as well. I'm digging my potatoes. I see lots of people digging them all in one go. Do you know, generally I just dig what I need when I need it at the moment. It's only later in the season I dig everything towards the end of the season, because obviously it gets too cold and the frost could affect them. Unless of course you think you've got a bad bit of blight, and then sometimes you can lift them up. But generally, if I've got that, I would just cut the tops of the plants off and still leave them in the ground. I still wouldn't lift them personally, but it's choice, you know. So as we move round, we can see that everything's coming on really lovely. I've not started pulling any of my carrots. I'll probably give them a few more weeks. They don't look like they've swollen out enough for me. I could pick them as baby carrots, but they're not really that thick actually. I don't really need to thin them out, so I'll leave them a bit longer. The beetroot I've started picking. Obviously the parsnips still need to be left in for an awful lot longer. My fennel have started to germinate, which I'm really pleased with, because I really like a bit of fennel. So if you can see that they've just started to sprout. I'm keeping these covered because, like most seedlings, the birds will have them if I don't. And something else that I'm really pleased about, my first bean that I can pick. So that's really awesome. They're definitely a little bit later this year, but that's partly down to me, if I'm honest. I didn't get them in early enough, but it's not the end of the world. They're just a little bit later. But that's really awesome. As you can see, I've got a yellow variety there. I've actually planted mixed ones, so I'll have green, purple, and the yellow ones. That kind of makes my plate a little bit more interesting. One of the most fun things about having your own allotment, that you can grow multicoloured things, which just makes it more interesting. So always keep an eye out for black fly, and if you see any, just rub it off. You might want gloves on if there's a lot of it. Just rub it off. So do always turn the leaves over and just have a bit of a check to make sure you haven't got any black fly, because it can soon sneak up on you. I did have a little bit earlier on in the season, but at the moment I look like I'm okay, which is often the way it is. So as we move over, the squashes and the pumpkins are doing really, really well. It's worth checking every few days with what they're like, because they really do start to swell out. And as you can see, this one that's produced quite a lot, the leaves are starting to look a little bit tired. Now, it's really important that you do feed things like this, especially something like your courgettes. So as you can see, I've got some yellowy leaves here, magnesium deficiency. So I will be feeding the ones that look a little bit like they need a bit of a boost, but I will generally feed them all anyway. So I really hope this has been helpful for you. I hope that you're doing really well on your allotment, whether you've been doing it for years or whether you're a newcomer. And if you've got any questions or queries, then please do put them in the comments and we will, as always, answer them